Earlier today, I had the intent of only talking about the Supreme Court retirement of Kennedy, and it slowly evolved into this thing where I was kind of going around and talking uh, with various people, just hanging around town, if you catch my drift. And, more often than not, when I go to these public venues and see couples holding hands and doing other little romantic things and whatnot, let me say a little Donahue, a lot of times I relapse. And what I mean by that is I like to have the mentality of, oh, yeah, if I see someone I find attractive, I'm not going to say anything to them because that's just going to inflate their ego and it's not like I have a chance anyway. Um, and in doing that and having that approach, it was designed with the intent of basically um, recognizing that there is a complete disillusion on their part before even beginning, might I add, to attempt anything beyond platonic with me. Uh, which, if that answers Wicked Gesture's question, his define what that word means. I'm gonna say a little envoy. And also, by the way, another before I even go further, I realized a while back, especially when we did the stream on Saturday, that people have this thing where they refuse to speak about the topic. So, for example, a lot of times I get notifications in my email about comments that are left on streams from months ago. And I've noticed a recurring theme where people will either use the comment section to make some remark about my appearance, which again is completely not having to do with what's being talked about, and or write some very generic speech that could have been copy and pasted anywhere else. Um, so it's become kind of a chore to have to go back and look and sift through what people are still commenting on 11 or 10 months later. But nonetheless, I mentioned a while back that I had a user who actually, she's female, and she came on my page, I think back in December, maybe January, February, around that time period. And she stated that she was of the belief that I was cursed romantically. So basically, you can do everything else that applies to get a job, school, um, things that are in the control of that one person. But if you expect other people to take the time to get to know you, um, it will not go your way. It doesn't matter how much you talk to that person. Doesn't matter how much you're there for that person. Um, it just will not change up. And one of the most reserving parts of this is that a lot of times I was kind of laughing that comment off. That's crazy, a hex, a curse. I don't believe in any of those superstitious things. But then I thought to myself, when I do the screenshot video, which is slowly approaching us, I just have to again record the lines. I want to not be the stuttering and various scattering for words that is typical of when I speak off the cuff. There was a woman who I mentioned a while. I've mentioned repeatedly that I spoke with for months. That I kid you not came on this profile, leaves a comment about how hot she thinks I am. Would sit on the phone with me hours each day, not an hour, not 2 hours, hours each day, and convey her attraction just to tell me at the end of it that I was too perfect and she couldn't. Those are literally her words, and you'll see this because again, this stuff is on file. Literally conveyed that she wasn't going to try this because of the distance between us, religion, all this other stuff that she started pulling out of her behind when I indicated that I wanted to go beyond just sitting on a phone and, hey, hey, what's up? What's going on? And it was this thing where I actually was shocked because I can always kind of see the idea that, oh, you went up to this person at, I don't know, the mall and they turned you down. What do you expect? It's a person that, walked past you. You can't think anything of them or really take it that personally. They probably have that happen to them 5 or 6 times a day. I accepted that because they're within their right to say, I'm not looking for anything. Why are you coming up to me? Leave me alone. And I was always able to justify it that way by saying, okay, well, This is the way they've chosen to be. I have no bearing on that. Okay, fine, cool. But we're talking about someone who came to my domain, expressed an interest that's beyond anything platonic, especially when you see her wording in that upcoming video, and decided to completely reverse course. And so when I think of that story, and the reason it gets brought up so often is that it is part of the narrative that has sort of overtaken much of what I thought about romantics. Because I used to believe, oh, you just have to get lucky, you have to be in the right place, the right time, and someone just has to happen to like the same things you like. But when it's followed by multiple instances of you either talking to people that came to you or you talking to people that you came up to and trying to meet them halfway and make all these compromises. And even, and just for example, she complains about religion. I offer to go to her thing. She declines that. Complains about location. I offer to go to her. She declines that. And so I even said to her at one point, you're making this a chore for me because I'm amending and, attempting to negotiate with you this entire time. And all you're doing is being this, uh, you know, little block that won't move. And her explanation was, well, since you're the one that wants it to happen so much, you should be the one doing the most amount of work. I said, yeah, but you're not doing anything other than playing this game uh, of refusing to actually make any attempt at doing something. Again, that's that kind of rhetoric I just used is what I'm trying to avoid in the screenshot stream or video because I don't want you to just have this dead air where I'm not saying anything and then what was he talking about? What do you mean? Okay, Wicked Gesture says, uh, well, Envoy, I never intended to. That was a proposal. And might I add that even after having that option met, she still said no, which let me know that this was going nowhere. Wicked Gesture says the only way you can get a woman in this day and age is you know her through someone else, or if you're genetically. Yeah, well, Wicked Gesture. Here's the thing: beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Now, what's really disgusted me about allowing myself to have the comment section be this place where people can express themselves is that oftentimes you'll have someone, no, no, Donahue, we can see you probably wrote something that the stream catches and says, oh, bad word, so we have to keep that hidden or reversed because 5-year-olds are checking this stuff out apparently. But the thing about that comment is that we're talking about a group of women who, just like a group of men, are not all going to find the same person of the opposite sex attractive or unattractive. That's why it always kills me when you have guys who will come on here and go, "Oh my God, look at how you look." And I had this friend of mine who you heard, what, a week and a half ago, who looks nothing like me, does not have the same hobbies, is in a different state, and yet is still afflicted by the same issue that I am. So I really couldn't understand that belief system, this idea that, oh, if you look this one way and have these hobbies and you're screwed. No, it goes beyond that. We're talking about women who've had the same interest as I have. This one that I'm talking about in particular for 3 months literally was able to talk about political things with some knowledge of basic terms and concepts. And even in being able to do that, she never gave me a reason to believe that she supposedly was not knowledgeable about the stuff. But even if she wasn't, I didn't care because I enjoyed talking to that person. And I thought she did as well. So to have that individual then go and basically say, screw you, I was just, never intending to make this serious, it's a slap in the face. And you have to understand that it's not about having people say no. It's about the fact that you have certain people say no. So again, if I had someone I just came up to and they say, screw you, it is what it is. We're talking about a person who you talk with for months or weeks, and as has been the case many times, that will compliment you, that will flirt with you, that will make it seem as if they actually have some liking of you. When in reality, they're just, you know, you're just a fly in the pan to them. Okay. Wicked Gesture says, people that had I been, she'd have write me off as some thirsty. Sky says, when it comes to, I've been lucky with literally threw themselves at me. She will go after you. Well, that was the that was why I was convinced this one wanted me. Why would you go on my stuff? And I actually asked her and said, well, I didn't expect you to respond. So apparently she's into just writing random comments on people's stuff and then deciding to get shocked when they actually answer back. I don't really understand the perspective of that, or whatever. See what else is here. Yeah. I don't know. It just all of it feels like this big Ferris wheel. Um, you go and you do other things for a while. You start thinking about it again. Talk about it. People say, "Yeah, I get you. I understand. It sucks." Then you have three or four people who will go and say, it's this because of this, that, and the other thing about you, as you saw last week on Saturday. And I keep trying to explain that no matter how much a male is able to, I mean, think about this. Imagine if I went over to some woman's live stream and I told her, well, if you just did this and that, this would change. Which actually, I take that back. I'd have to be a woman myself going over to another woman's live stream to tell her about what she needs to change and reverse and switch course with. And it still would seem weird because we're talking about what a woman thinks a woman should be to another woman, as opposed to, them all being different as males are supposedly different. But I kind of believe in certain situations. That's what I'm always saying. I think things are going to happen which may not coincide with your timing. Donahue, we've heard that line before. Yeah. Anyways, I get burnt out of this whole thing. And you kind of it becomes a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario, because if you speak about it in the way I'm speaking about it now, you have people who will say this is somehow contributing negatively to it. Then if you don't talk about it, you're just basically uh, suffering in silence, and it really becomes this thing of will you or won't you, uh, and again being screwed no matter what way you go. So see what else is being written here. But yeah, I genuinely believe that the if this thing ever gets switched around, it will not be during you know my existence. So if we get to a point where people actually have to go and talk to each other and are willing to meet each other halfway and give somebody a chance, it certainly will not be in any foreseeable future, because the current way things are situated now is that the woman picks, and if the guy doesn't fit her criteria, he's screwed. Uh, and it's saddening that you have so many people who try to pretend like that's not the current case. Professor, we're getting ready to close this thing out. I was just talking about this user had said that she believed I was cursed, and how I wanted to deny it and say no, that couldn't be the case. But it's become more and more apparent, because after having the one video go and you know explode or whatever, I had, I think, four or five women come on here, and I think I discussed what each of them did. Where three of them said it won't work, and I said, all right, well, screw this, and ended it after they told me that there was no chance. And then I had another one send her resignation letter, which again will be included in that video on these messages. And look, I'm doing with this, the intent of speaking about this stuff has been clear for a while, but I feel the need to keep having to break it down. I'm attempting to demonstrate to those that also have the same issue that it's not you in particular that is afflicted by this. Um, and that when you have these people, whether they're male or female, that go on here and try to make you, feel horrible about yourself, it's still not entirely factual. I could have something that one person might really like that somebody else will find annoying, which has been the case. But it still does not mean change your entire demeanor and everything about you just for that one person. That's stupid. And also, even if you do that, you still have no guarantee of having the person stay with you. So I think it's all just a big fallacy, and that the only part of this the only thing any commenter has said that was actually true as far as stuff that I didn't really particularly like was the curse, because I am very much of the belief now. You have people who will say that that's a messed up mentality, but it's one that has been the logical stepping stone in a pattern of things that have gone on. A guy who goes out and waters a plant 2 times a week, and then the thing dies, is going to say, "Oh man, I should probably water it less." He waters it less, it dies. He waters it more, it dies. He's going to think there's something wrong with him if it just keeps happening. Sky Clark says you're right. There's no way to ascertain a female truly likes you or not and will stay with you. Pretty much. Envoy, the saddest thing about him making the comment about the bigger city is that I literally have streams reacting to elections that have been over that basically confirm where I am, but whatever. So I just don't think there's anywhere to really go with this stuff other than to just kind of keep putting up with it, uh, and you know holding on to that thinly veiled hope that it might you know switch up. But I just don't believe it, because people do not have a desire in them to change. For example, a lot of those detractors I mentioned, who I've taught, who if I were to say, "Oh, you hurt me with this comment you made," they don't care about that. That is entertaining to them. They enjoy, seeing somebody else burn up and um, you know be miserable. That's just how the lack of ability to empathize has exceeded normal expectations. So, for example, a lot of women, I guarantee you, who have this thing about being able to easily get males, if they had to walk in the shoes of a lot of men today, I think they wouldn't be able to uh, tolerate it. And that's not me boasting or attempting to say, every single thing about your life is easy, but I can tell you there have been very few things that have caused me as continuous agony as the question of whether or not this little romantic Ferris wheel saga would ever be over. And again, that's not just the people who are saying no; it's the people who are making excuses for them, which we've seen both online and in person. Um, and the fact that no one ever seems to really just say, let's put an end to this. It's a continuous game that really feels like it's never going to conclude. Uh, and I hate the fact that even in kind of feeling like you're giving an epilogue, like, okay, this is the final chapter of this. You always have people say, "Oh, if you just do this, just this one thing, man, it'll just change." As we've seen with the last couple of romantic related streams, where people just come in there and call themselves being used car salesmen and giving you a bag of goods about what could be different. But yeah, it's really uh, discouraging. Men have given women the ultimate control in the form of family courts and social media. Wicked Gesture says, I think the problem is that society teaches women to think they are infallible goddesses who deserve special treatment. I can, I guess, see that. O'Donohue says it makes me feel good to know I'm not the only one who has trouble with women. My brother can really relate with me. He has all the trouble I've had. Well, here's the thing. One of the biggest motivators for still talking about this was the fact that there were so many other people who had the same problem. Um, and like I mentioned before, that friend of mine who did the stream had not intended to be part of that, but we were just both, in one place at the same time and said, hey, let's go and talk about this thing for a little while. Because it was something that bothers him just as it bothers me. And like I said, you have all these guys that look different from each other, that have different hobbies, and they're still screwed by, this stalemate, this Ferris wheel. Uh, and really, I probably have gotten more and more to the point where just as I feel there's nothing that people can say that's going to make me feel any differently about what the scenario is now, um, I don't think there's anything I could say that would make them feel any differently about the scenario that is how it's going now. Which is again why I called it the Ferris wheel. Things just don't um, switch up. Well, Donnie says, I wish these types of streams were long. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of at, again, when I get to a point where I don't really have much else to churn out, I say, okay, well then, screw it and just turn it off. Always says we don't have to. Guys will buy. Yeah. Let's see what else is being written here. Let's see what else here. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what O'Donohue means by wanting the stream to be long. What else do you want me to say? I'm of the belief that me and probably some other people are cursed. I'm not going to name names, but it's been apparent for a while now, and I just didn't want to accept it. But it feels like whenever you try to allow another person to make a choice. So, for example, if you say, okay, well, I'm going to go and be career oriented, and if a woman comes along and says she likes that and says, I want to talk to you, I'll talk to her. If you give that person the power, which you have to, because it's that's just how life is. You have other people that are going to make decisions that affect you. But if the other person decides to just basically not go along with any of that, what else can you do? And it really saddens me because I've sat here for a while um, and really felt the continuous damned if I do, damned if you don't scenario kind of explode. So, for example, like I said, you go to these places and you see all these women that, turn your head, they're attractive, they might be by themselves, think, oh, if I just go walk up and say hello, what's the worst that could happen? Um, and, when you have that opinion, you decide to go and give it a shot. And when it doesn't go the way you want, you go, okay, whatever. But we're talking about people that come up to you that say, I'm interested, and then they do the reverse. So it makes it to where you don't trust the ones that come up to you, and you don't trust the ones, most of them, by the way, that you have to go out and say something to be given the time of day. So I don't see it changing. I don't think there's any strategy for this. I think the people who are continuing to churn out these relationship videos about, oh yeah, if you just do these 5 or 6 things and follow all of her demands, are lying to themselves. I think many of the people that are in here are, you know, not the most, what I guess, appealing males ever, but I'm not either. I just don't think that, uh, you know, it should be turned out that way. Where basically a guy who let's say will call himself a six has to go for a one or a two, and even they have multiple options, loads of dudes. So I don't see it. But yeah, I'm gonna close this out. I hope that there was something gained here, and like I said, suffer in silence. That is literally all you can do. You know, people will look at you and they go, "Why don't you talk to this person? Why don't you talk?" Because it's a waste of time. They don't care about me. They don't care what I have to say. Why would I bother? Um, and you know, in following that doctrine, I'm not telling anyone to just don't talk to someone you like. But if it doesn't go the way you want, do not trick yourself into believing that if I had just done this a little bit differently, stop. Because all it does is make you feel worse about yourself, um, and adhere to this female driven society where all the guys have to do whatever they want. And if you don't fit their mold of what they want a man to be, you're worthless and all this other nonsense. Uh, so that's just my perspective. But thank you for watching and have a good day.